We said we would do this, didn't we? We said it last time that we'd do another episode, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
It's been a while, but we're doing it. It's me, Val. It's him, Nate. And Nate, presumably lots has happened in the last few weeks, presumably.
So much.
Okay. Yeah, well, I don't even know where to start. In fact, we will not get through everything because there's too much.
I doubt we're going to even really deal with anything in the last 2 weeks. I mean, anything that happened more than a week ago is in the old news cycle. You know,
it's not about being in the news cycle, though. If it's something that we feel like we need to get our flavour into, then we're going to flavour it up.
Yeah, we should.
So a couple of things are happening
sauce on that
right now. Where do you want to start? Do you want to start pretty royal, or do you want to start pretty religious-y? Where do you want to go?
Start with the King's Landing.
Okay, so the King's in town. You probably heard about it. KCIII kicking about the joint. Largely received well by the Australian public. Our Prime Minister at the moment is a Republican, but in moments like this, he has to toe the company line, as it would be, the company line. He has to toe that and say that we're very happy that the King has come to Australia, and we're so pleased that he's having a good time. That's it. That's what he has to do. Plus, when he got the job, he has to sign. He has to do some sort of fealty thing to the King. Because the King's, of course, when you become Prime Minister, you've got to do a swearing of allegiance to the King and to his heirs. All of that. You've got to do all that.
They don't have to get down on one knee or anything.
Probably privately.
Bizarre. Yeah, okay.
Maybe privately. Maybe. We don't know. There is a bit of that. He's in town. He's in Canberra. Yeah. Now he's back in Sydney. And I haven't seen much on it. Have you? I haven't seen much at all.
I heard a stat about it. He is the first reigning king to visit Australia.
Is that true?
Reigning king.
I think there was another one who was planning a trip. He was planning a trip here, got quite sick, couldn't come, and that would have been before, Elizabeth. Would have been before her.
Because I reckon you need airplanes about to make a trip. I don't know if a king could be fucked just getting on a boat for a couple of months.
Well, that's what they did. That was peak travel.
That's what everyone did. But does the king? Can the king afford to be away from the motherland for 4 months of travel? I don't know. Just to visit. It depends on where we're at. Yeah, no.
It depends on where
true.
We're at.
I did read it. I did read it somewhere. No, it surprised me.
So the fact is that you read it.
I read it. That's all I need to know. That's all I need to know.
No, but what I'm saying is that it may not be a fact that he's the first king to come to Australia.
Reigning king.
But the fact that you read it is a fact. That part of it.
Yes.
In
and
isolation,
why would they lie to me? It's not like a conspiracy theory. It's not like he's the first reigning king to visit the far side of the moon, the dark side of the moon.
Yeah, that'll be the big one. Like the first king to visit another planet, because then you've got, holy shit, they're getting on a boat.
Some kind of sovereignty issue.
They're getting on a boat, though. The people will say in the future, why would they do that? I mean, they didn't even have teleporters back then. He would have had to go on there by boat. It was the best way at the time.
And they might be trying to exercise their sovereign right in some way. They're in all their power being the king. They might be turning up and saying, I proclaim this ye bowl of matter to be that of the Commonwealth, or whatever they do.
Whatever they do, yeah. Well, it's a good thing we didn't rapidly expand into space, because it would be a shit fight up there if we did. If there was already colonization taking place of the moon and the Mars and wherever else, and we're close to that, it would have been a shit fight.
I've got an update about China's ambitious space exploration plans on that note.
Other things that did happen quite recently in the space thing, though, is that they had the chopsticks catch the rocket. And I read a stat today about that. There was more thrust in the landing procedure to get it onto the sticks than Saturn V's launch.
I believe that.
Yeah, so to get Saturn V off the deck, Well,
I mean,
they're big. They're very big. They're very
it
big.
went from, if you watch the video, they've got the speed of the super heavy coming back to Earth, and it's going over 1,000 kilometers an hour, about 30 fucking seconds before it hits the ground. And that super heavy has more than twice the amount of thrust of any rocket that has previously gone to space.
Yeah.
And it doesn't even have stage 1 on top. So that's
So it is a lot of weight coming down as well, but it's not the full weight of the whole bizzo, because obviously they shot off some of that.
Yeah.
And
a lot of fuel was used.
Thrust.
Yeah.
Of course. You got to save some fuel for it coming down now, which is something that the previous rocket people didn't even think about. They just thought of spend the fuel, send the thing, pick it up later. We'll grab it later. We'll leave it for future generations.
It looked so insane seeing Super Heavy come down. It looked like magic.
I think what do they call it? When they're visualizing of the future, when they do those like demonstrative videos of a starship landing and a starship taking off at pretty much the same time. And they're just doing this all day, just up, down, see you later. Just launching stuff into space, just adding to the junk pool that we've already got in the orbital backyard. We'll just chuck some more shit up there. Yeah.
Well, they're leaving less up there now, I guess. They're supposed to be leaving. They're supposed to be trying to leave less, but who's policing it, really?
Yeah. It'll take a few people commercially traveling to, say, the moon, who get ripped apart by a Snickers bar that was left in orbit. It'll take a couple of those for them to go, we need to clean up our orbit a little bit now that we're inhabiting it a bit more.
Yeah, the problem is once there's one accident, if there's a proper collision, like there's only been 2 major collisions in space, and they both leave huge debris fields, which are going to be problematic for a long time.
Yeah, they're like F1 cars. They just turn into 1,000 pieces instantly.
Yes, and they remain problematic for a huge amount of time.
Yeah. I mean, if we could just pull them into the orbit, like, because obviously they're traveling around the Earth very fast. If we could just get them in, they'll burn up in the atmosphere, no problem.
There's lots of people trying to figure out how to do that with lasers to decelerate things in space.
Ah, that's cool.
And there's Japanese companies that have like weird, like kind of nets and stuff they're trying to deploy. Don't ask me.
I knew there was going to be a net. I knew a net was going to be involved. I knew someone was coming up with some sort of space net. It's the most obvious option.
It's the most obvious option. It's like,
boss, I was cleaning my pool on the week, had a few leaves in it. I had this little scoop thing. What do we reckon about a scoop thing? Yeah, scoop it.
Yeah, if you sit down a bunch of, sort of corporates, non-engineers, boardroom types in a room, and you say, hey, let's get some ideas about how we're going to get this debris out of space, they're going to have no ideas other than a big net.
Yeah, I got an idea. Why don't we just pull in everything we've got now? So everyone's satellites, we're bringing them all down with magnets or some shit.
Magnets.
Whatever, big magnets.
Yeah, big magnets.
Pull everything down. We'll reset. We'll start again. Better tech. We've got newer stuff now than the stuff that's up there. Put some newer shit up there. Less waste. Get all the debris out of there. If we have to do this every 10 years, do it every 10 years. I don't care. You've seen the animation of the fucking Earth with all the shit hanging around it. We're building a prison.
Surrounded by rubbish.
Yeah.
Yeah, so... I mean, NASA still reckons that we're going to have boots on the moon is September 2026 on Artemis 3.
Man.
And this is what we're doing
out the uniforms.
No, not yet. They haven't sorted out the uniforms. That still remains
the biggest roadblock
in dispute, yes.
Keep talking.
So, well, no, I mean, I got nothing. Okay, back to China. I just want to talk about China's ambitious space exploration plans. I think it's a bit of an extension of the One China policy, actually, but into outer space.
What do you mean?
So it's a little bit controversial. They're looking at Mars, asteroids, and even Jupiter.
Yeah.
But, I mean, they're they're going a bit closer to home for now, but they've got Chang'e 6 lunar far side samples that came back recently. Do you remember the first
they were
spacecraft?
down at the South Pole. They were chilling out there.
They're on the dark side of the moon.
Oh, they're on the dark side.
The first spacecraft that's ever gone on the dark side of the moon. They actually got samples returned from the dark side.
Aliens?
They didn't reveal evidence of aliens.
Yeah.
But they wouldn't tell us if they did.
Nah.
If the sample had an alien in it, I don't think they'd let us know.
No.
We wouldn't be able to handle it. But Chang'e 7 and Chang'e 8 are both trying to land near the lunar South Pole because no one's been able to actually land a South Pole landing yet.
No one?
No one's been able to do it. For some reason, it's technically a little bit more difficult.
Oh, okay. Isn't it just a couple of numbers you have to switch around? I don't know.
I've got no idea why they haven't done it, but apparently it's difficult. And they're looking for...
I think I've looked at a map of the moon with all of the Apollo landing sites, and they do seem to all be around the similar sort of area. They obviously worked out the math for that and went, we're doing that one because this is the 60s. We're not fucking going for the South Pole, you idiots. Shoot for it.
I heard a stat, which, again, it's one of those things I read and probably isn't right because it doesn't make any sense to me. But the things that don't make sense to me are the ones that I retain because I'm like, that's surprising. I read, and I'm going to just get ChatGPT up to verify this for me, but I read that the coldest place in the solar system is a permanently shadowed part of the moon.
Get out. That doesn't make any sense.
Doesn't make any sense
at all. I could think of at least 6 places
Surely
that should
Pluto
be colder.
is way colder.
Well, not a planet, but yes.
Okay, here we go. The coldest known part of the solar system is within the permanently shadowed crater near the moon's south pole, specifically in regions like the crater floors of the moon's Shackleton crater.
What did that start with? The coldest?
The coldest known part of the solar system.
Of the solar system.
So temperatures in these areas can drop as low as negative 157 degrees Celsius.
That doesn't sound that cold.
I mean, Alaska gets
coldest,
to negative 50.
To be the coldest. You
okay,
know what I mean?
Sorry. Okay, now that maybe this is the coldest known part. However, goes on, even colder temperatures have been recorded in the Kuiper Belt beyond Neptune and on Pluto, where surface temperatures can fall to negative 240 degrees Celsius.
Doesn't sound that much colder. It sounds like the space and outer space is becoming very hospitable by the sounds of things. I know you have to wear some kit, but come on.
It's weird because it says here the coldest temperatures have been recorded, blah, blah, blah. But it says, the coldest temperature ever measured in the solar system is within the shadowed craters of the moon's poles.
Ever measured? So there'll be theoretically colder places that we just haven't measured yet?
That seems to be what it's suggesting. So I guess it's the furthest, it's the coldest place we've ever stuck a thermometer.
Exactly.
That surprised me. So I guess it's partially true. It's like true, but it's kind of like a bit of it's a bit disingenuous. Yeah. It's a disingenuous statistic. There's a lot of those going around.
Yeah, you got another one. Jesus Christ. You haven't got another one.
I can come across them. I'll find another one today.
Yeah, cool. Other things that are happening is whole buttload of people got canonized today by the Pope.
Really?
Yeah. 14
they're all dead,
people.
right?
Yeah, they got to be dead.
Yeah.
You got to be dead.
Yeah,
that's the first step.
Yep.
That's step one.
Step one. How many? 14 people.
Yeah. The most famous one is this story of an Italian bloke who ended up starting up some missionaries around the place, as they do. I think he's got some sort of quote that says, first you must be a saint, then be a missionary. So he's done a full circle on this because he reckons he was pretty sainty going into the whole thing, got into missionary work after already being quite saintly.
Got into a missionary position. Yeah.
Now he's saintly. So he's done it.
I like to start in a missionary position and move on from there. But
yeah, well, that's where most people like to start. Well, he started from a saintly place. He went straight for sainty.
Good for him.
Yeah,
that's nice.
That is nice. Living and serving, I think, is the idea there. He is to become a saint. Obviously, you got to die.
Yes.
Then they've got to do that thing where they hand in a bunch of documents saying that you were a good person, which is at that point they
the
can
security
name
clearance.
you.
Yeah.
Basically, working with children's check these days, I think covers it.
It's a bit of a know your client check because they don't want to be embarrassed. Luffingham?
Yeah, they don't want it to come out in a scandal that you're a scumbag. Exactly. They're trying to make you into a saint. They can't have you fuck it up all of a sudden. So basically in 1987, so for context, he died in 1926. So he's been dead for 70 years. They did receive a bit of a letter in the 80s. It's called a pasito, which is a document or collection of documents.
I know what a pasito is. It's a drink.
Oh, you do?
It's a fizzy drink.
It is
an orangey fizzy drink.
It is an orange fizzy drink. But no, this is documents used in the process by which a Catholic person is declared venerable, which is step 2.
Yes, venerable. Yes, of course.
Step 2. Once he's done that, he gets made, official. He gets called official, that he's been venerable after recognised that he had lived a life of heroic virtue.
Oh, that's
not just virtue. That's heroic virtue. Then he has to do miracles. Now that he's dead and venerable, he's got to start doing miracles. This is the bit that always weirds me out, is that I would have thought if there was a dude kicking about actually doing miracles while they're alive, then they die, let's saint them up. You know,
Straight
if
away.
you raise someone from the dead, but you don't do anything after you're dead, you're not going to become a saint. You have to do it when you're dead. It's very important. So the miracle attributed to him for his beatification was ratified in 86 following the conclusion of a diocesan tribunal. John Paul II approved the miracle, so he gets to stamp it in 1990.
I love a ratified miracle. Yep. Hilarious.
And beatified him on the 7th of October 1990. So this takes years is sort of my first point on this. 6 years later, in the Amazon rainforest, there was a bloke who was attacked by a jaguar and suffered a significant brain injury. So this is not important, but I will mention it anyway.
Yeah.
After a Boa Vista neurosurgery coupled with his congregation's novena for the intercession of the Blessed Alamano. So he was invoked within they're trying to say, look, he had neurosurgery. Yeah, sure. But he also had people praying in the name of the Blessed Alamano, and the guy survived. So who's to say which part?
Yeah, whether modern medicine or prayer.
Which one did which?
Which one did more work? Which one did more heavy lifting?
Exactly. So basically that happened in 96. And on May 23rd, 2024, which is earlier this year, Pope Francis, after meeting with Prefect Marcello Semeraro, recognized this as a second miracle, and issued a decree convening a consistory of cardinals to deliberate his canonization.
Do they need more saints? Have they got a saint shortage at the moment? Because this one seems to be, as far as ratified miracles go, this seems to be at the lower end of the spectrum. You know,
this is the big one. This is the one. This is the headliner. This is what they're using as the headliner. He's the headliner.
He's the best one they've got.
He's the best one of the new.
So he's the centre half back of this all Australian team coming in.
That's right. That's what it seems like.
Jeez.
So I went and did a little more digging. So Pope Francis, just him, has canonized 926 saints. Just him.
What? I thought there were only a handful of saints.
No, there's
this guy's out of control. He needs to be locked up. Pope Francis, that's the one we've got now, right?
He is the current one. He's been the current one since 2013, and he got off to a good start. Got 5 saints into the book, then put 11 in, then put 10 in. The numbers are going, they're sort of between 7 and 8 usually, I guess. But people are getting added.
Oh my God! Why doesn't someone actually do a
Hall of Fame?
It is a Hall of Fame. It's the Saints Hall of Fame, or the Roman Catholic. Wait, you have to be Roman Catholic, don't you?
I think so.
Yeah, because you need the Pope. Yeah, okay, all right. So, how do you become a saint of?
I don't know.
A Christian saint.
Well, other than Roman Catholicism,
sorry. I have so much trouble with religion.
Maybe they just
I find it so confusing.
Maybe they just tick it. Like maybe there's no, I want to know who the first saint was, and I want to know what miracles were being done. That's what I want to know.
Is Pope Francis, is he aware of the scientific method? Has he
of
had
course.
that explained?
Sure.
But do they apply it is the question?
I don't
know.
When
they're ratifying the miracles.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They'd have a team who looks at it from a Christian Science sort of background, and they'll have a look at it and decide whether or not it's a miracle.
Because the way I'm seeing this, right, you got 900 saints. They've all performed 2 miracles, have they not? To become saints? So you need to be 2 verified, ratified miracles.
Yeah.
I don't know why they stop at 2, but that's all they need to get into the Hall of Fame.
That's all you need.
It's a low threshold.
You can just stop after that.
I mean, I shat out 2 miracles this morning.
Yeah, but that's all you need, just a couple.
And why, if people are performing miracles, make them count.
Well, this one was done in the 80s, remember? It was only sort of recognized recently as a miracle. It's not like we're getting 28 miracles a year. We're not getting 28 miracles a year. All these people did stuff whenever. Probably a long time ago for some of them.
And the records a long time ago. Like, we don't even have, the proper original records of the moon landing. So, I mean, that was just in the late 60s. Early 70s.
Yeah.
With this guy's performing miracles. Yeah. What records
you can probably
do we
learn
really
more
have?
about the Dark Ages than some of this stuff. There's probably more information out there about the Dark Ages, which people regard as like a bit of a knowledge gap in human history. It wasn't. It just wasn't particularly pleasant.
Why isn't Neil Armstrong a saint? Is he still kicking about? I reckon the Pope needs to, if he's making everyone saints, I mean, he's performed one, you have to be dead then perform the miracle.
Yeah, it's not like he can walk on the moon after he dies, because that is a bit of a miracle. But yeah, you got to do it after you're dead. It's the weirdest point of that whole story, and I say it again because you could literally perform miracles while you're alive, and they mean nothing.
Yeah.
They mean nothing. Might as well not do them.
So you're saying there's still a chance for me then?
Only if you do stuff after you're dead.
Yeah.
If I pray to you a lot, probably. Yeah.
It's a popularity contest at the end of the day, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all good fun. A couple more saints.
Well, they say that you have 2 deaths.
Ooh, do they? Who says that?
I've heard it a couple of times. It may be familiar. You have 2 deaths. Your first death is the one you're familiar with when you die. Your second death.
I'm not really familiar with it, but go on.
The whole
the end, the thing that happens just after you is alive.
When you reach your expiry date.
Yeah, that one.
Then the second one is the last time someone utters your name.
Oh. So like Alexander the Great is still alive.
He's still kicking. He's still kicking. Yeah.
Interesting. And Jesus is still alive because they're still
he's going strong. Yeah.
Okay. We're talking
but
about
Jesus will die. Jesus will die. He will have his second death. We all will. Some sooner than others. I reckon I've got about 15 minutes after I pass away. I reckon after the funeral and stuff, it's kind of like...
Yeah, cross your name out of the address book, get rid of your...
Yeah.
Who?
But I mean, if you're doing miracles and people are praying to you, this is what made me think of it. You're still alive because people are, and once you go in that Hall of Fame, people are sometimes reading through the list. So you live on.
Yeah, there's also paintings of you that people look at. That's the other weird thing. In a way, the internet is sort of everlasting life for the every man and woman out there, like you and me, because there's a photograph of you that will be on the internet long after you're dead.
Oh, yeah.
So that's sort of another way of looking at the whole second death
maybe
thing.
That's
is
your
like
third
once
death.
all
when the last digital image of you is removed.
Yeah.
Then a lot of people never lived in. That's your digital life, isn't it? Because a lot of people never actually their image never made it onto a hard drive.
Well, I think we'll make a distinction between just digital imagery and the internet, and you could make that, yeah.
But I mean, is a picture of you on the internet taken with a camera phone in 2009 or 2004? Like, is is that really a digital image of you? They're so grainy. You can't even actually tell who it is half the time.
I think the same way someone could invoke your name, they're not necessarily picturing you in the moment right now. It'll be whatever version of you they remember last. So it could be someone from 20 years ago. So in that respect, the picture holds as much weight as the name. But no, it's interesting. It seems like we've invented immortality again.
Well, I maintain that we need to talk about the weather more so we can find our way into that database that is being stored. So in the event of a catastrophe, someone can come.
I always forget your motives for wanting to do that. Now I remember it. You want to get in that building, which is super protected from the elements and atomic weapons and stuff. You want to be in that bunker with all the rest of the pertinent information, like precipitation percentages. They'll be like, have you looked at these numbers from 2023? Jesus Christ, there's an episode of some podcast on here. This was the only recorded. Everyone becomes a big fan of the show in like the apocalyptic future where this is the only entertainment. Well, we're sorry. There is better stuff out there. We probably shouldn't have done this.
Yeah, I just want the algorithm to accidentally sort of pick up our stuff and then store us
and dump
digitally.
It on the weather in the weather places.
Yeah. And that's why talking about the moon's weather, the coldest place in the solar system, maybe these kind of keywords are going to get picked up.
Yeah, in.
I was talking about the weather on Mars once. The Perseverance rover was experiencing a bit of a storm.
Well, yeah, sure. I mean, we get some pretty gnarly storms on Earth too, obviously.
I just had a weird thought. If you fart in the coldest place in the solar system,
what happens?
What happens?
Oh, it gets very warm there for a moment, I would imagine, and then it
probably
would freezes. Yeah.
What is a fart? It's just air, but there's moisture. Would it just?
It would freeze. Whatever can be frozen
just
in the coldest place.
Powder would fall out of your ass. Little smelly powder.
It's a good thought. And these are the thoughts that people like who are working on Artemis and things like that and want to colonize the moon. If you want to live at the South Pole, you're pretty close to this cold place. It's just over the ridge there, over to that shadowy place where no one goes.
Permanently shadowed crater. Imagine shining light, just getting a big mirror and just being like, I am the bringer
Definitely too
of light.
scared to do that. Definitely too scared to do that, right? It's a good idea, though. It's a good idea for a lighting system on the moon, just a bunch of mirrors, like how I imagine sort of, ancient Greece would communicate via cities through mirrors that would shoot little lights at each other. Brilliant. That's brilliant. Do that on the moon. You don't have to do like 100 kilometers.
That's actually one thing, not what you said, but
light it up. That's
in
all I'm
Egypt,
saying.
one of the issues they have about the mining of the quarries in Aswan, and which is 500 miles away.
Which is where all the granite came from. Yep.
And the limestone more nearby. They don't actually know how they lit, because you can have fire down there, but they're quite enclosed spaces, and they were doing a lot of good work in these mines. And so they theorized they may have had some kind of mirrors to try to stream some light into the... I don't know, did they have mirrors? I've read this again. Is this one of those facts, those naughty facts?
Mirrors. I doubt they had mirrors.
They could have
they had shiny things. Yeah, they had shiny things. They had gold. Gold's pretty shiny.
Yeah, gold's shiny. But
gold's...
doesn't seem right, does it? Anyway, that's one thing they say is just an interesting...
Well, if we're going to use Indiana Jones as sort of Egyptian archaeology history and whatever, and just say, look, everything in Indiana Jones is 100% correct, then in the lost city of Tanis, they did have mirrors, and it did direct light into like a funneling thing that made the, he MacGyvered the door or whatever with that thing. So, yeah, they had mirrors in Indiana Jones, ancient Egypt.
I mean, Indiana Jones must be pretty legit. It's popular. It's got to be.
You would imagine so.
Largely based on a true story. You would think. They wouldn't lie to us like that. Hollywood would not lie to us like that.
No.
I mean, they were spot on about the Ark of the Covenant.
Spot on. What do you mean?
They nailed that. All of it, the whole thing. I mean, that's real. in the way it
I
murdered
think
people.
so.
Yeah.
I to and fro on that one, but it's a good one. It's very fun. But that comes mainly from Indiana Jones, which is when they say, like, it is said that the Ark leveled armies. And it's like, that's Indiana Jones, exposition about what it does. But if you look at, like, the times where they lost it, they brought it to battle with them because they thought, let's bring the Ark. And then it gets captured by the other army because they get smashed. And then it leaves their history for a couple of 100 years, pops back in. They end up giving it back. The Philistines got it off them. And after they spent some time talking to, like, their village elder guys or their elders, the elders were like, "No, you got to give this back. Give it back to them." So they gave it back. And then it's like, yeah, bring it back. And that was before Solomon's Temple. So this is it's before all that stuff. So it's been around. I definitely think it existed, but I don't know what it did.
I have a theory about the Ark of the Covenant, a new theory. I think it was a thorium molten salt reactor.
Okay.
Rather than a nuclear reactor.
I don't think many people are saying it's a nuclear reactor, right?
No, I don't think anyone is.
A lot of people were saying it's radioactive. A lot of people were saying that if people opened it up and touched it, they just died. So people are saying that.
That's what
I've heard the other one where they just open it up outside of a city and all the city dies. So I don't know who's carrying this thing, what sort of hazmat suits they're wearing. I don't know how it works.
Actually, I'm still reading that Making of the Atomic Bomb book and haven't got to the explosion yet. But haven't got to Trinity yet. I'm 550 pages in. Still no Trinity.
Okay.
Yeah, it was an effort to make this thing. But at the moment, the British government is really worried, although they don't think Germany is close to building a nuclear bomb. This is about 1943, 1944. They think that Germany has some kind of nuclear program that is relatively advanced for reasons I won't go into. And they think although Germany might not produce a bomb, they may be able to produce nuclear material that they could poison the water wells, and they might be able to make a dust out of it and just spread nuclear contaminants all over England. So they were some of the things that were terrifying Churchill.
Yeah, because obviously it doesn't just open you up to nuclear power, nuclear weapons, but also nuclear waste and all the rest of the bad stuff. I think most people's earliest, what would you call it? The first thing that they hear about sort of radiation and stuff is watching Homer Simpson in the opening credits of The Simpsons flick the little green thing, and it ends up getting picked up by Bart while he's skateboarding, right? Everyone's seen the scene. And then it ends up in Marge's thing, and I think Maggie ends up with it in its mouth. That's the first time we ever see the notion of radiation, and it's this glowing green fucking scary thing.
Yeah, I reckon Simpsons have probably taken nuclear development back a couple of decades.
You reckon? But I disagree, because Springfield has a nuclear power station. We were all being exposed to it, this idea that, a town can have a nuclear power plant and it's all good.
And the horrors of it. You got Homer Simpson, but you realise humans are behind the technology. And incompetence is rife.
Sure, he is the safety officer of the nuclear power plant. Yeah.
And you got three-eyed fish and other kind of,
it's
jokes.
all there.
Yeah.
They're very clever people writing The Simpsons. They were anyway.
Anyway, the reason I say a thorium molten salt reactor is because it's in my view something that is better than a general uranium reactor, which we're more familiar with it, and what all reactors at the moment are based on uranium. China just developed not the first one, but I think it's the first commercial. There's been at least one in the US that is a thorium molten salt reactor. Thorium's 2 protons less than uranium on the periodic table, and it's very difficult to. There's technology issues associated with the whole process. But if you can overcome the technology issues, the pros are amazing compared to a uranium reactor. One is thorium is far more abundant than uranium. So you've got a fuel source. So there's heaps of it in China. Apparently, China has enough thorium to meet its current energy needs for its whole country for 20,000 years.
Yeah.
It produces nuclear waste at far lesser amounts. I'm trying to think apparently it's 90% less nuclear waste.
Yeah,
per,
right.
Of volume. The half-life of the nuclear waste is only 300 to 500 years rather than 10,000 plus years.
That's a big number. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And a side effect of having a uranium reactor, not an unusual side effect, just a concerning side effect, is that you produce plutonium, which you can make plutonium bombs out of. But a thorium, so that's one reason why you don't want countries having nuclear reactors, because they can actually produce a bomb with the byproduct that you have.
Sure, but is it okay for any country to look at another one and be like, hey, you're looking into nuclear power, huh? It's pretty efficient, huh?
This is one of the cons of having a uranium nuclear power plant, is they say we shouldn't proliferate this technology because as a byproduct you produce something that can sustain a chain reaction, a neutron chain reaction. So they say that that's one of the cons, and this doesn't have that. So that's got to be a good thing.
Okay, good. Yep, good. We'll go with that.
So far less nuclear waste, less half-life.
Tick.
No fissionable material as a byproduct. The only problem you have, and you got far more of the resource, so maybe less damage to the environment in terms of digging it up. I assume that you can, I don't know, maybe it's more abundant.
They've got a bunch of it. Yeah,
they got a bunch of it.
Well, it's save on importing or whatever they were going to do with uranium. Yeah, right.
And if the reactor overheats, the way it's designed is the chain reaction automatically slows down. So it's got this inbuilt safety mechanism that you can't do with the water that you use to cool a uranium reactor. This has molten salt and a different setup. And so you don't have the risk of nuclear meltdown is I don't want to say zero, but it automatically switches off, rather than a uranium reactor. If you lose power, it automatically melts down.
Yeah. Wow.
So
crazy.
It sounds pretty cool. So apparently China's got one. They're at the forefront of it. Bill Gates has been working on one for decades in the US, which does produce, but it's so corrosive, the salt, that you need the material science isn't there, and there's all these technological issues. But technology just keeps improving. Once the technology gets there, this seems to be the way forward. Does it not? No carbon emissions. Yeah, because the big problem
is that why we're going to build nuclear power now? Because we're always behind the eight ball a little bit.
I think we should get on board.
In Australia. No. But here's the thing: when they go, we've come up with this new stuff. We're like, yeah, cool. Just hold on one sec. We're just signing a contract to build a shit ton of nuclear power plants. Just give us 1 sec. Oh, it's actually to do with that 1 sec. Scribble, and all of a sudden, we're 25, 30 years behind again. Internet's still dog shit. Sucks.
Yeah, well, this is perhaps the way forwards.
Yeah, great.
I like it. I was excited. When I read about it, I was like, this sounds fascinating. I'm going to invest. I'm going to start the first Australian thorium molten salt reactor company.
Yeah, obviously.
Do you want to get on? Do you want to get on board the ground level?
Yeah. I'll be an early adopter.
I mean, I think I know enough about it. I know how many protons are in the element. What more do you need to know at that point?
Yeah. Could you guys just build this already?
I know you need salt in it.
Exactly. Salt, another thing.
Yeah, thorium, salt. Yeah, all right.
Yeah. Bill Gates has been working on it for a while, but it turns out it's a piece of piss.
He's had too many. He's got his finger in too many pies. He's buying all the land. He's got all agriculture going on. He's got all these, medicines.
So can you do, are you giving enough pie, enough love? If you got,
he needs to focus. He's distracted. I almost want to say that he's procrastinating.
Oh, like George R. R. Martin, a little bit like that.
Is George procrastinating?
Well, he hasn't finished Game of Thrones yet.
Oh, has he
It
not?
ended-
Has he
it
not
ended,
finished
like,
it yet?
Years ago. No, he's nowhere near it.
Oh my God. How old is he?
Oh, he's old.
He's not going to make it. He's
No.
got to be concerned. He should just start dot pointing it now. You know, when you get to the last 15 minutes of an exam and you still got heaps of questions to go, he's got to start dot pointing this.
Yeah. He probably has.
Maybe ChatGPT will finish it off. Actually, that's not such a bad idea. You know what you do? Your last dying breath, you've got it. You do your structure and you put in as much detail as you can. You flesh it out. You know, you say, Joe Bloggs comes along. He's got a weird left knee, like whatever.
Fill
All
in
the
the
detail,
blanks.
as much detail as you can think of at the time. And then with your last dying breath, you just hit make this out into a book and a half or whatever you need. Finish it off for me. Hit enter.
Finish it off for me. Jesus Christ. So, he'll have like ghostwriters and stuff they'll write long after he's gone. Not under his name, but like he'll have someone who he'll hand it over to. Because that's, or someone will just buy it later. Just buy that shit.
Wait, sorry. I just had to ask ChatGPT, can you write me a whole book of 500 pages?
And he just started scribbling out. Here you go.
No, just can it? Can it? I just want to know, will it?
Did it just say yes?
No. It says writing a full 500-page book is quite the undertaking. I'd be happy to help you with that, but it would require us to break it down into manageable steps. First, it would be helpful to know what kind of book you're envisaging.
Great.
How long would it take to generate 500 pages? Like all night?
No, it would be pretty quick.
But you know how it generates like it's sort of typing?
Yeah. Why don't you just start with like a 20-page story instead of a 500-page novel?
Oh, then I still have to read 20 pages though.
Exactly. You don't want to read 500?
Okay. Well, let's do this because it's asked me for 5 things. So write me a 20
page
short story.
Yeah.
Okay, so the first thing with the following details.
So what did it ask you?
First thing is genre, or topic.
Okay.
It says fiction, e.g. mystery, fantasy, sci-fi, non-fiction, e.g. history, self-help, or something
noir,
else.
sort of noir mystery.
Okay. How do you spell noir?
Noir. Noir. Like Noir?
Okay, sorry, 1 second. How do you do, because when I push enter, it just sort of,
just do a comma.
Populates
just do a comma.
Okay, you're right. Sorry, bear with me.
Are you going to read 20 pages though? I mean, you just want to know
I'll take an extract.
goes.
I'll read you the last paragraph. Okay.
Oh yeah, no,
the first and the last paragraph.
Yeah. Perfect.
Okay, so genre is. Say that again. What is it? Noir.
Let's do a noir mystery.
Noir.
Yeah.
Mystery.
Yeah, but maybe chuck a little funky thing in there, like superhero, like superhero mystery
with sci-fi vibes.
Yeah, cool. Sci-fi vibes. You're going to tell it vibes.
Oh, it'll be fine.
I know.
2, plot. Okay, main storyline. Oh, wait, hold on. That's the next thing said. Okay. Main theme or story. What are the key ideas, plot lines, or subjects you want to explore?
Okay, so it wants to know what the overarching and sort of subtext of the thing is. Let's do a subtext of something like
overcoming. Oh, that's a bit lame.
Yeah, we could do do the moon landing.
Drug use and moon landings.
Yeah, but those are the themes, are they?
Yeah. Drug use and moon landing themes.
Yeah, okay.
With a story that has lots of adventure.
What, is that all it asked you for?
No,
Themes,
that's
genre.
I'm sorry, I'm on 2. Sorry, 3. Tone and style.
Tone.
Formal, conversational, dramatic, humorous. We've got to go with humorous.
Humorous and thoughtful.
Okay.
Oh, and dark.
Thoughtful and dark. Okay, yeah, that's good. This will have. I feel like we're making an ice cream, and there's like ripples of like boysenberry swirl and chopped chips.
Well, it's a noir thing. I mean, it's a bit weird if you're really giving it a hard ask. You're going, give me a funny noir mystery about drugs on the moon landings.
Structure. Do you have an outline in mind? Would you like me to help you create one?
Yeah, no. Do this. Start with the ending.
Oh, yeah.
Like, start at the end. Start at the end. Yeah. I'll be back in a sec.
Yeah.
Keep typing. Typing.
Start with the ending. We can come back and flesh that out if we need to. 5. The last item it needs is audience. Who is the intended reader? Well, I guess the audience will be someone in their midlife crisis and wants a reason to live. That sounds pretty epic. Yeah, that's going to work nicely. Okay, so ChatGPT says, once we clarify these details, we can begin drafting the book in sections. I could provide you with chapter by chapter drafts, so we could go from there. I didn't realize that. I'll just say I want all 20 pages in one go. In one go, I believe in you. I believe in you. You can do it. Godspeed.
Stop encouraging it.
Okay.
Godspeed.
Let's see what happens.
Yeah, well.
Thank you for the detailed prompt. Writing a full 20-page short story in one go will be quite an immersive experience, but I'm fully up for the challenge. Here's what I'll do. Genre. It's rephrased what I've said. Genre, a noir mystery with sci-fi vibes. Main theme, a mix of drug use and moon landings filled with adventure. Tone, humorous, thoughtful, dark, leaning into existential reflections. Structure, begin with the ending, in brackets, a twisty narrative that loops back. Audience, for someone.
It knows. You didn't hear what I want.
You didn't hear the audience.
Midlife crisis.
Oh,
people.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So I'll just read. Wow, it's really going for it.
Really, it's really just started typing.
Yeah.
Well, you asked for a 20-page book, and they still want to put it into chapters. Anyway,
but each chapter's only like one page.
That's what I mean.
I can read just the headings of the chapters as well. I'll read the first chapter. Okay. Chapter 1, the end, but not really. I woke up face down in the dust, not earth dust. No, that would have been a relief. Moon dust.
Moon dust.
With its fine, powdery grit that clung to your skin and infiltrated the lining of your lungs. Oh. I'd never seen even this much dust in the lab simulations back on Earth. Oh. This was the real deal. And as much as it thrilled the astronaut in me, it terrified the part that I knew I was nowhere near the landing site. Well, damn, I muttered through cracked lips, tasting blood. My helmet visor was busted, hairline fractures spidering outward like a bad omen.
Oh, he's fucked.
To my right, the discarded syringe still had flecks of blue glowing liquid. The stuff they said that would take you places. Places you wanted to go.
Jesus Christ.
Problem was, it never took you anywhere you wanted.
Wow.
Especially not now.
Whoa.
I wanted to see Earth again, not this.
Wow, this is pretty dark.
Should have taken the last hit, I grumbled, struggling to sit up.
There's the humour. I was waiting for it. I didn't see where it was. I got the sci-fi vibes. I got the moon landing. I got the drug use. I got everything. I got the end. Oh, man. This is ticking every box that you said to tick in such a way that makes it seem super uncreative in the sense that it's just like, look, here's everything you wanted in every chapter. And I keep going. Is there more?
There's not much left of this chapter. I winced at the sight of Earth hanging large in the sky, like a cruel tease. The final hit was always the worst, wasn't it? The last time you think you are going to escape your own mind. Instead, you just drift further away.
Wow, it's so deep.
Now, here I was, trapped in a dream that had turned into a nightmare.
Wow.
Not sure if I was coming down, floating in space, or if I'd truly messed up and actually landed on the moon.
Wow.
Come on, breathe, I whispered to myself. The oxygen reserves were low, my time was ticking. If only they knew.
So is he on drugs or is he actually on the moon?
I don't know. I think he's on drugs. I think can you take drugs and
low.
Yeah, can you both be high and on the moon? Like,
yeah, I guess so. In this world, you might be able to. It's got sci-fi vibes.
I'll just read the chapter titles. Chapter 2.
What's chapter 2 called?
How it started.
Oh, that's just very creative, isn't it?
Chapter 3, the first hit.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Chapter 4, the voices.
Oh my God. Yeah, cool. Love that.
It's only 4. It's only 2 paragraphs and 2 lines.
Yeah, for the voices.
Yeah, I'll just read it. Let's see what's happening.
Give
Let's
us the voices.
tune back
get an
into
update.
the story.
Let's get an update.
That's when it got worse.
Oh God.
The moon trips weren't the problem anymore. It's what I was hearing in between. The moments of silence, the spaces in my own mind where I couldn't trust reality anymore. Was I sober or still floating?
Wow.
You can't stay here forever, a voice would say in my dreams. I figured it was the lunar dust messing with my brain chemistry.
That's it.
The thing no one tells you about addiction is that it's not the high that gets you. It's the space in between the highs.
Wow.
The waiting, the wanting, the needing.
That is pretty wild, dark shit from the Noir.
You can't ever settle down. You're always thinking of the next escape. That's how I started losing myself. Soon, the only place I felt alive was the moon.
This is all very normal stuff. Yeah, except for the lunar dust stuff.
Chapter 5, the plan. Chapter 6, the final frontier.
Yes.
Epilogue, a reason to live.
Wow, gives that up at the end, does it?
When I wake up, I'm not in space. I'm not on the moon. I'm in a hospital bed, hooked up to machines. An IV drips into my arm. My lungs burn, but they're breathing. My head throbs, but it's clear. And through the haze, I see her. My daughter. The one I'd forgotten about in all the trips, all the highs, and all the failures. She's sitting next to me, tears in her eyes, shaking her head. You're still here, Dad, she whispers. And first time in years, I smile because, yeah, I'm still here.
Wow.
If anyone wants the full story, they can email in.
Yep, we have it all. We've got it all somewhere.
What is the email? Because I'll send it to you.
Vacuous Perspective at mail.com. Well, you're going to send it to us?
Yeah.
Oh, well, cheers. Haven't checked the emails in a while. Probably should check in. Bit of housekeeping. Haven't done that in forever.
Yeah, I mean, I would be. Yeah, I'm surprised you know it. Surely we've got some spam.
Oh, we'd have to have some spam by now. You've been sending me those. You signed me up to one of those daily newsletters, thinking we might get some stories out of it. So I get stuff from the Good News Network.
What is it again? Vacuous Perspective. What is it? Vacuous Perspective.
Yeah, at mail.com.
Sorry, I should know that. Mail.com.
We did get an email.
Wow.
Signed proposal. I've attached the signed proposal. Thanks. How would you like to structure payment and what forms of payment do you accept? View online signed proposal. So there's a link here. Kind regards, admin. Well, that's nice. I've got another one that says the same thing. Wow. That's pretty cool.
We should get onto that.
Yeah, probably.
Sounds legit.
Morning jolt of good news. A celebrated ocean liner is being turned into the world's largest artificial reef. That's on the good news.
So they're scuttling it. I mean, that's what you do when you turn this red.
Yeah, they're going to scuttle it.
I love that word.
Attorney warns his voice was cloned by AI in phone scam that nearly tricked his dad out of $35K. That's on the good news as well.
How'd that make it? Doesn't sound so good. I mean, they avoided the problem. But I mean, if you...
Oh, here's another one. Hang on. Girl submits drawing to upgrade playground for little kids and the city took her advice.
Oh.
Boom. So that's 3 good stories that you didn't know about.
This is actually not a good story. I forwarded it to myself. It just reminded me of it. I literally saw it on the way home. So I haven't had a proper look at it. But the headline, it came up. It was recommended to me in my notifications.
Oh,
so
yes.
ABC is propagating this story. Perth parents accused of starving teenage daughter who weighed 27 kilograms.
Oh, that's rough.
In short, a court has heard a 17-year-old Perth girl was so malnourished that she was as small as an 11-year-old, weighing just 27 kilos, and was at risk of dying. Her dance teacher initially raised the alarm, leading to the Department of Child Protection intervening. I scanned the article, and they said that the parents would say that she has, firstly, they told people that she was younger than she actually was. They even changed her birth certificate, like doctored her birth certificate, so it wasn't as obvious because she looked so small. And they said she had all these allergies and all these other things. Oh, yeah. And she was in hospital for a week and put on 6 kilos.
Mm. Yeah, she's got allergies to shit parents.
Terrifies me.
Yeah, that's fucking gnarly.
There's actually a picture of the district court in this article. Have you seen the little pyramid outside the district court?
Is it? Yeah, little one.
It's fascinating.
Yeah, you got a little one there.
Every time I see it, I'm like, what the fuck is a pyramid doing there?
Yeah, well, it's the same reason that you would wonder why there's an Egyptian obelisk at the Vatican. Like, why is there this symbol of a pagan religion sitting at the holiest place in your new religion? Let's chuck up an obelisk from ancient Egypt. It's very strange. It's very strange.
Obelisks everywhere. Up in King's Park, the War Memorial.
Sure, but this is at the Vatican. Like, you didn't want to put a cross up there or something? Something that says, we're the Vatican? Rather pop up why not go with an Italian piazza thing? Like, I don't know. I don't know how it works.
That's like putting up the golden arches at a Hungry Jack's.
Pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. So I don't understand that. I understand the influences, though. The influence is still present with us today. I think we have Napoleon in part to thank for that, because once he came back from Egypt, he turned the French population into they went nutty. They started building buildings like that. They started doing the sphinxes and shit. They were loving it.
They were so obsessed. We still
love it. No, but we still love it. It's a residual thing. We're still loving it. It's just on a different level. If I could be born in any time and place, that's in the mix, in the sort of, I mean, other than everything, I want to be an elite, French elite. French elite.
Yeah. In the 1750s.
Yeah.
Wait, not in the aristocracy.
Not in the monarchy.
Oh, not. Yeah, it depends. No, there was a time and place where monarchy was cool. There was a time and place where it worked out for you, and then there was a bit of a line in the sand where everyone got beheaded. France had a bit of a moment. Yep. So in news that has happened, I'm just going to touch on a couple of points. Stop me when, if anything, sort of catches your attention. UK closes its last coal-fired power plant. This happened 3 weeks ago. Closed. Yeah, right. Yeah. That's fascinating because that's where the Industrial Revolution started. It's quite a milestone for the UK to shut down, to not have a coal-fired power plant. That is a pretty awesome. That is huge. It's a very future-thinking thing. It is. France is still 5 years away. They should be early off the rank. They've been doing it for the longest time. Yeah, exactly. So get your acts together. We'll be there soon. I mean, they fucked this. They sparked the whole Industrial Revolution. So, I mean, they deserve a lot of the shit that's thrown their way because of it. Totally. So, apparently France, Canada, and Australia is following suit, but 2027 for France, 2030 for Canada, and 2038 for Australia, because we love coal. We love a bit of coal. And it's big distances. I don't know what other reasons. There you go. We just love it. And last time I checked, there's a giant fusion reactor in the sky that requires no maintenance, no upkeep.
A fusion reactor in the sky? You're going to have to be a bit more specific than that.
The sun.
Right, we've got one of them already. Yep.
It converts 4.5 million tons of mass into energy every second.
No, that's a good amount. What, you reckon that's enough?
Well, I think a nuclear bomb converts something like a gram or two.
Right.
We have something that's just constantly converting 4.5 million tons.
That's not a small amount. It's hard to wrap. It's space numbers, though. It's hard to wrap your head around that.
Isn't it? But it's clearly producing a lot of energy because we just capture the smallest little fraction of it and we're like, yeah, we're good. We can.
The thing that fucks me up about that is when a nuclear explosion goes off, the light it emits is something like 10,000 times hotter, like brighter than our sun. And when you think about it, I can't think of anything brighter than our sun.
The outside of the sun is only 5,000 degrees. I think a lot of the hardcore reactions are happening deeper. That's my guess. Now that you say it, it's interesting you say that. And maybe the light.
It's about the light, though. It's not about the heat. It's about the light. But don't they say that about other stuff as well? Like, not with welding equipment, but something akin to welding equipment. Aren't they like this is like the sun? Here's your sun.
They always say the surface of the sun as well. I mean, you've got 4.5 million tons. Again, I shouldn't stop saying it. It's one of those, it's one of those stats. I don't want to call that one a disingenuous stat because it's just a stat. But on its face, it seems disingenuous because it's just such a space number that just doesn't make any sense.
So does the other one.
I can't even imagine
times.
what 4.5 million tons looks like.
So the other thing that happened recently is Graham Hancock season 2 of Ancient Apocalypse came out on Netflix.
Oh, really? I had no idea.
Yeah, so season 2 came out, deals mostly with the Americas because that's what his other book did.
Awesome.
Deal with the Americas, which is sort of exploring the earlier prehistory of the Americas. I've always found it fascinating about sort of the Olmecs because they kind of just appear, are there for a little while, and then they're gone and there's fuck all that people know about them.
Are they the helmet ones?
Yeah.
Where they had all this, the big heads with...
Yep.
Yeah.
The heads kicking around. So it's quite good because remember how a long time ago, and we would have talked about it as well, how Graham Hancock wanted to LiDAR the Amazon. He was like, if we LiDAR the Amazon, we're going to find all sorts of shit. Well, in this Ancient Apocalypse, I won't spoil anything, but they actually do go about doing some of those experiments in the Amazon.
Oh,
and
cool.
And yeah, like finding shit. So it's sort of looking at the known migratory patterns of humans across the Bering Strait, which is Russia to America. And the notion being is that that was potentially a second wave of human migration, and the first wave could have occurred before that. That's the idea. And there's evidence that humans were around before they should have been, basically, living alongside giant sloths and shit, whatever else was kicking around back then.
Did you talk about the Clovis first culture that they used to have this dogma that was rigidly adhered to about Clovis first, which is a culture of humans in the North Americas that existed, I think, around 13,000 BC. And the dogma was Clovis first, and there were no humans before this date so people, they would, if you dug deeper than those layers of sediment, people were saying that you're ridiculous, you're out of control. And then someone did dig in areas which were far more ancient sediment and found evidence of human activity. And now Clovis first is not the dogma anymore. I don't know what dates we're dealing with, but...
Yeah, well, it's pushing it a little bit further back, I guess. Some cave paintings in the Amazon and interesting things. Footprints from a very long time ago in sort of, I want to say Mexico or thereabouts. It's really interesting.
I'm so keen.
Yeah, you should have a watch.
Yeah,
it's very funny though. The first 5 minutes, I actually laughed out loud, and for me to laugh is pretty rare.
Yeah. I just
But
smile.
I did.
I just sort of like smile and breathe.
I laughed at how dramatic it was. Like they're doing the whole like in the first 5 minutes they're doing a bit of a whole like on this season, you know, and they'll cut to like Graham Hancock like raising his glasses and going like, "Wow," that's all they give you, and you're like, "That's it." And like just someone saying, "Wow." Come on, like, I know what you're trying to do, but like, yeah, get me. I can get excited.
I asked ChatGPT to help me visualize 4.5 million tons. So this is the mass getting converted into energy every second. The Empire State Building weighs 365,000 tons. So the equivalent is stacking over 12 Empire State Buildings in terms of mass. You could also have 30,000 blue whales. They weigh around 150 tons.
Okay.
You could have 8,036 Airbus A380s.
What are we talking about, though? That's mass.
Yes, 4.5 million tons of mass is converted into energy every second in the sun. But the Great Pyramid of Giza got it covered. It's only 3/4 of the mass of the Pyramid of Giza. So it's funny when you're looking at scale of things, nothing on Earth comes even close, and you're like, oh no, pyramids cover it. Pyramids got it covered.
Oh yeah, easily. On archaeology, you know the Nazca lines, the ones you can see from space.
Yeah.
Well, not from space, but from high above. They used an AI to scan for more. Right, so they gave the team gave this AI photographs of the area from aeroplane, and it went crazy and identified 47,000 possible matches. Right,
Ooh.
The team eventually cut that number down to 1,300 high potential candidates. Then they got that number down with the assistance of drones from 1,300 to 303. Of the 303 newly discovered glyphs, 178 were suggested by the model and 125 were additional finds. It did contribute in a positive way.
Wow.
Of those, 66 were part of an AI-discovered cluster of geoglyphs, while 59 were discovered during field work without any help from AI. So there's more Nazca lines. There's a lot more of them by the sounds of things. Pretty interesting. We've all had access to Google Earth for a while now. It's obviously doing a lot more analysis than we're capable of doing with our eyes, I guess, and it would be trained on other Nazca lines. But that's interesting. That was from the Good News Network as well. So it's paying you rich dividends.
And who says that machines, AI, can't do anything positive for us? We've got a couple of extra Nazca lines. We got a 20-page book I just wrote. That's enough. It's done its job.
A Noir book. Yeah. Well, yeah.
One thing that AI can't do yet is China are breeding zebrafish aboard the Tiangong space station.
Oh, we're breeding fish in space.
Or about to. They plan to.
Oh, that's cool.
They've got 4 zebrafish now living on the space station. And they live in a tank that is a miniature self-sustained ecosystem. I mean, you don't really want them getting out. These are space fish. We got alien fish now. Fish not of this world. I think they're going to see how they, when they breed, if the little fish develop properly, because obviously in 0G, it's a bit different to being in 1G.
But they're in water. So they got a better shot than the average bear.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
They've got some form of home in there. I mean, so do we. We pressurize the cabin. We can breathe oxygen in the cabins. It's all good. Seems all pretty safe. But that'll be the first fish born in space, right?
I think so. I don't know if we've had any animals born in space.
Born in space, yeah.
Have humans bred any animals in? Well, maybe not bred. That's probably not the right word. Oh no, we're breeding aliens.
Yeah.
Oh, fruit flies. I mean, are they really? They're probably one of the worst forms of life. Like if you get reincarnated as a fruit fly in space, you're pretty pissed off.
Even if they said goldfish, I wouldn't accept it. It's got to be something like a snapper. Or something.
A zebrafish or a snapper. What about a mouse? The Japanese have bred some mice on the ISS. The male and female
science.
mice mated in microgravity. That would have been fun.
No one will believe you when you come back. If they're dead, right? They didn't come back, did they?
Well, studies showed that the offspring were healthy and showed no major differences compared to Earth-born mice, which I find surprising. But I'm also not a scientist that has considered any of these issues.
Well, what I would suggest is if they kept that going, if those mice had sex with other mice who also born in zero gravity, and then that kept doing that, they would change physiologically.
Yeah, totally.
At some
You'd
point.
evolve. Yeah, you'd have survival of the fittest again, but
you would.
Different situation. Nematodes, Makanda fish. I don't know if that's a snapper or not, but
it's got to be.
It's the Japanese again. Japanese are up to no good. What are they up to? Tardigrades, of course. The water bears reappear.
Yeah, well, you get them up there, but, we already know so much about them and what they can survive. So what are we really learning? I mean, you can chuck them out the back. They'll be fine, right? Chuck them out the back.
Yeah, chuck them out the back. Yeah, they would undergo cryptobiosis, a state in which their metabolism is almost entirely halt, allowing them to survive harsh space conditions. They're going to take over the world. Yeah. Frogs. Oh, zebrafish. Yeah, we're up to the zebrafish now. Yeah, okay. So it's not so exciting, actually. I take it back.
It's pretty exciting still. I mean, you got to get excited.
Joe Daniher retires. What do you think about that?
Good timing.
Goes out on top.
At the top. Yeah, go. Yeah. People rarely do that, if ever. I don't think I can remember the last time that someone went out on top.
Shane Crawford.
Can you remember anybody?
Joel Selwood, yeah.
They both did?
That's the two I know
Selwood.
of, yeah.
Selwood for sure.
I think Lingy might have. I think the pink pig might have.
Really?
I think the premiership was too much for him. He just can't handle it. Can't handle success.
Yeah.
Man, they had. I mean, have we reflected on the Brisbane Lions run?
What, this run?
Yeah, to the premiership.
Yeah, sure.
You remember they did that huge comeback against GWS?
Mm-hmm.
So they came out and they pulled Carlton's pants all the way down.
Yeah.
Smashed them like 60-0 in the first couple of quarters. Then they had the huge comeback against GWS. And one thing that Joe did actually in that GWS game was late in the game, you may recall, he kicked the last 2 goals of the game. Pretty sure anyway. But I'm pretty sure he at least kicked the last goal. I think he kicked the last 2. But he took a mark against Sam Taylor. Apparently it was only the second time in the year that Sam Taylor had been beaten in a one-on-one. He's the All-Australian centre-half back.
So he was crushing all year. Yep.
So can you imagine how unlucky you are? This is in the last 30 seconds, a minute. You have only beaten once the whole year in a one-on-one. Gets kicked in. Joe Daniher's the man. He made it happen. He made the impossible happen.
Yeah.
And then he kicked the goal as well. It was pretty awesome.
What was the goal that he kicked from a free kick that was close to that? Because they kicked 2 in the sort of last 5 minutes, and one of them was a free kick. And I just remember that it was sort of in contention between him and another bloke, and he was like, no, give me the fucking footy.
Yeah.
And kicks the goal
pulled
and
rank.
stuff, and all good. Yeah, he pulled rank. I don't like that. I reckon it should just go to whoever's closest to the ball, no matter what. Like, you gotta not have people opting for free kicks. But no, huge. Yep. So is that him retired? That's it?
Yeah, that's it. I didn't even believe it. Like a couple of days after the grand final, I heard rumours, like an article saying he was thinking about retiring. I thought he's not old. He's at like 30. Just won the premiership. You don't really. The people that I know that have retired after winning the premiership are all old as fuck. Shane Crawford always said it was his last year. Joel Selwood really was so old. I don't know. I don't know if he came out at the beginning of the year and said it or not, but
he was still so good though. But
he was so good. You think he could keep playing, but yeah.
I think you're going to feel that way about all the greats though. So last time we were on, we talked about wacky sort of conspiracy theories.
Oh yeah.
And people might have thought that that's the reason we were off air for so long is that, we
got pulled.
got.
Oh, we got. Oh, we figured it out. I see.
So I've just I've been doing a bit of I've just got some dot points here, and these are conspiracy theories that turned out to be true. So we're going the other way.
Excellent. Okay.
So instead of going for the wackier shit, we'll go with the real stuff, shall we? Okay, so this is a really good way of summarizing it. So thanks to our sponsor, ChatGPT, for this one. Number one, the Watergate scandal. The theory is that the Nixon administration was involved in illegal activities, including the break-in at the Democratic National Committee headquarters at the Watergate complex in 1972. The truth, obviously, the investigations revealed that the Nixon administration orchestrated a cover-up leading to President Nixon's resignation in 1974. So that one didn't have a lot of time to stew. It was over and done with within a couple of years. See you later. No one gives a shit, really. I'm going to pick another one. Yeah. This is number 3 on the list. MK Ultra, CIA mind control experiments. I've talked about this one before. The theory is that the CIA had been experimenting on humans, including drugs like LSD, to control minds, manipulate behavior. In 1975, the U.S. Senate's Church Committee investigations confirmed that the CIA had conducted unethical experiments on U.S. citizens, many without their consent, from the 1950s to the 1970s under a program called MK Ultra. So that was a thing, and I'm sure other governments have tried to work on stuff like that, all the time.
If you want to take that one step further as well, some people argue that Charles Manson was trained by the government.
There's a lot of people who were and could have been have been theorized that they were MK Ultra plants and stuff like that, for sure, a lot. Gulf of Tonkin, pretty famous one.
Yes.
The theory is the US government manipulated or fabricated the events in the Gulf of Tonkin in 1964 to justify escalating military involvement in Vietnam.
False flag.
The original, the OG. Yeah. The truth is, declassified documents and testimony revealed that the second alleged attack on the US ships never happened, but the incident was used to justify the expansion of the Vietnam War. So that's another one. Number 7, Big Tobacco's knowledge of the health risks. The theory is that tobacco companies knew about the dangers of smoking, but deliberately hid the truth to protect profits. The truth, internal documents revealed in the 1990s proved that tobacco companies were aware of the health risks, including lung cancer, but actively suppressed this information for decades. Yeah. So that's that's a good one.
That's criminal.
And I'll just read the last one because it's interesting. The CIA involvement in drug trafficking. The theory was the CIA were involved in drug trafficking, particularly in the 1980s, to fund covert operations, meaning they were importing drugs, selling them, and then using that to fund operations. The truth is, in the 1990s, investigative reports and CIA admissions revealed that the agency had indirect links to drug cartels as part of efforts to fund Contra rebels in Nicaragua. So that was all a thing. Love that. I haven't read this one before. Project Sunshine. The US government was secretly...
Project Sunshine.
Sounds lovely. Yeah. The theory is the US government was secretly collecting and studying dead bodies, including infants, to analyze the effects of nuclear fallout. So it's not that nice. It was not very sunshiny at all. The truth is, in the 50s, it was revealed that the government had indeed collected human tissue samples without consent for research on the effects of radiation, confirming the theory. So I hadn't heard of that one. That's interesting.
I mean, they're not going to consent if they're dead, but I thought you just scoop them up. Yeah,
wow.
CIA, they're nice. They're nice. I mean, they're pretty saucy. They're not as saucy to me because they're true. They lose their source. I'm like, they're just like...
I think there was a time when...
bad things they did.
I think there was a time within our lifetime where talking about MK Ultra was pretty crackpot. And I don't think it's crackpot anymore, which I think is a step in the right direction.
I've said it to people and they look at me weirdly.
It's a weird thing.
Yeah.
But is it so hard to believe? I mean, there's movies made about this. You don't think people are actually trying to do this shit? Yeah, people are trying to do this shit. Yeah. People are, that great Darren Brown episode where he hypnotizes a guy into becoming an assassin and then triggers him with a keyword and makes him shoot Stephen Fry in a crowded theater and he can't remember it. Yeah, that's kind of like what people think is possible with maybe a combination of that sort of mind suggestion stuff and maybe fucking shitloads of LSD in the formative part of I don't know if you want to call it like a shell state or like whatever you want to call it. The idea that And it's the same as if you went to the military, right? So the military, you get a drill sergeant. He comes in. His job is to turn you into nothing so that he can pop a soldier in you. So he can pop a soldier in because a regular person can't go to war. I can't pick up a gun and shoot a person. I need to be told that I'm worthless and a scumbag and whatever, and be able to tolerate really high stress and be able to deal with lots of things.
And murder people.
Being yelled at and all this sort of stuff. It's all part of the preparation of getting into that mode, that sort of soldier mode. And I think it's Full Metal Jacket. I think it's Kubrick's Full Metal Jacket where he talks about how like, my job is to prepare you for like the worst that humanity has to offer. I'm not going to send in a little boy. I'm going to send in someone who I've given the stamp of approval for. That this guy's combat ready. You know what I mean? Like it's pretty gnarly. So
good movie.
Good movie.
My wife really liked it.
Would the government be working on that kind of stuff? I mean, absolutely. You got to think it's like Cold War stuff as well. It's like, well, if we don't do it, if we're not trying to like brainwash people in order to turn them into sleeper agents, then someone else will.
You have to experiment with it to know if it's got any potential. That's why it surprised me about the war on drugs and making all the drugs illegal, because it stymied scientific research into these things. It's how fearful the government was.
If you had a secret program that was using psychoactives to use in a government program for potentially brainwashing people or making them become sleeper agents, you don't want that in the general public. That's secret shit.
No, but
like,
I would have thought
shit.
Research and other things. I mean, they were doing their own, but I thought they might benefit from it. I thought the government might even.
They're not going to do it if they're nefarious. They're not going to give you the benefit stuff. They're going to keep that away from you. If they're really nefarious, they don't want you to be better. They want you to be worse, okay? If they're good people running the joint, then they're like, hey, we've found a lot of actual, I know we've been using this on people to like brainwash them and turn them into sleeper agents, but we've actually found some really good benefits to it. They'd go, shut up, mate. We're trying to brainwash people over here. I mean, we're trying to win this Cold War. Could you just fuck off with your bloody morality and trying to save people and shit? So, I don't think so. I think the more help it could do, the more it would be demonized, I think was the general vibe of the war on drugs.
I saw an article the other day that Christopher Columbus was secretly Jewish.
What does that mean?
I don't know. New DNA study reveals. I don't know what that means.
What does that mean? Like, do you know what religion he is or ethnicity he is?
He was a Sephardic Jew from Western Europe.
There you go.
Yeah, apparently there's some I didn't know what that meant, and I think they like to put the word Jew in a title. And
for some people it might be a revelation, but if you don't know his background, then it's not a revelation. It's just like, oh, there it goes. That's
just
interesting.
a dude, yeah.
Oh, did you know Chris Columbus, had a sort of family and stuff? It's like, oh yeah, I sort of know that.
People with anti-Semitic leanings might be like some people might be upset. They'll be like, I want my founder, I can't believe.
Well, what is he, he found America, right? But he didn't founded America.
He just turned up. He just turned up,
right? Okay, that's cool.
He was the one silly enough to try and fall off the edge of the planet at the time.
So, you know how when the fleets were going around the place and they were just going to places they hadn't been before and wittingly or unwittingly infecting the population with like all the diseases that they brought from back home and sort of wiped out like many, many millions of people with just sickness.
Bit of contagion.
Do you reckon this is something I posed the other day to a friend of mine? I said, do you reckon they did that on purpose or wittingly, like knowing that was actually that they are bioweapons? They are all them as a moving force around the world are actually like a bioweapon on the water. You know what I mean? They can just, we'll go in there, we'll shake some hands and then we'll leave for a couple of weeks and
come back a few years later, everyone will be dead. We'll just we'll just turn up, pick up the land.
Like, I could understand it if they didn't know. I mean, did they know?
They did not know.
They weren't treating the flu or anything back then.
They had no idea. Right? They would have thought it was just some spooky effect. They probably thought their voodoo was working.
I'm not talking about the people who lived there. I'm talking about the people who
turned
came
up
there by boat.
Wouldn't have known. Yeah. Had no idea.
Yeah.
It would be magic.
Maybe they'd see someone have a sniffle, like who they've just come to visit, and they're like, "Oh, you got a bit of a sniffle there. You'll be all right in a couple of days." And they come back and everyone's dead because it's the first time they've ever had to deal with that. Yeah, look, obviously it sounds like they had no idea, but if they had an idea, that would be actually pretty, a scary thought.
There was this explorer that came to South America. I've just asked.
Yeah, you're talking about the one that found a place and then said I'll be back or whatever, and then just everyone was gone.
Well, he first reported huge numbers of people in South America and cities of gold. And then that news got back to Europe. It took a long time. This is early days. His journey was in 1541 to 1542. It went down the Amazon, and the river led to the legend of El Dorado, a mythical city or kingdom filled with gold.
Yeah.
Everyone says that this is bullshit, that his account could not have happened, because when they came back I think it was about 100 years later, there was nothing but jungle down the Amazon. The theory goes that most of them got wiped out by disease. The jungle grew over, and that's where the LiDAR comes into it with Graham Hancock, that there's all this other development and infrastructure.
It's so big. Like the area we're talking about with the Amazon, even with the high levels of deforestation that have occurred, the Amazon's still fucking massive. It's still huge. Yeah. It's really scary how big it is. So they can't LiDAR the whole thing.
Unless you have a lot of money, right?
Cash. But no, the undertaking alone, man, they're using cutting edge technology in the new sort of ancient apocalypse, right? They're using cutting edge technology, and that cutting edge technology is a drone flying over with a LiDAR attached to it. Okay. Just in manpower hours to do the Amazon is thousands upon thousands upon thousands upon thousands of hours.
Yeah. Okay.
It doesn't, it's the technology's there, but not on a scale that you can't scale it up to that. I think that's the challenge now.
And just having a look, so this guy, Francisco de Orellana, was the Spanish conquistador who went there 1541, discovered the legend of El Dorado. So key points, that's not very interesting. The legend of El Dorado. The rumors of cities filled with gold were widespread among explorers, but Orellana's reports added fuel to the legend of El Dorado, a golden kingdom believed to exist in the uncharted interior of South America. While Orellana himself did not claim to have found El Dorado, the stories he brought back to Europe after his journey, combined with his accounts from earlier expeditions, created the enduring myth. This isn't so compelling. I heard that he reported millions of people,
hundreds of thousands, something like that.
Massive cities, and people came back and were just like, what was this guy smoking at the time? Like, no one, the accounts just didn't make any sense to people, but it was quite a while afterwards. It looks like someone went 10 years after him, but then the next guy was Sir Walter Raleigh, who went there 50 years later, and then 70 years later. And then then it starts going 17th and 18th centuries. You got Jesuit missionaries and explorers. So, I mean, you only had a couple of guys go there. Like, they couldn't have explored all the areas. Of course not. They couldn't have covered all the same territory.
Of course not. And they're finding new cities all the time in the Amazon with LiDAR technology. And we're probably going to see a lot more in the next 20 or 30 years. A lot more cities pop up that we just didn't know about. Kind of know that they exist now, so they're out there. But how many and the extent and, El Dorado, whatever, in what form, whatever it is, might be there. It's very hard terrain.
Does he talk about, there was two things I thought he might talk about when he starts talking about South America. Did he talk about Terra Preta, that black earth, the soil?
Not yet. So It's the first two episodes, or the first episode and a half, seems to be talking about the early migratory patterns of humans and where this sort of differs. And then the second episode, they're LiDARing the Amazon. Okay. So that's where I'm up to. I haven't finished the whole series yet. I'm just taking it bit by bit. But no, it's really interesting. It's well worth the watch.
I also hope he talks about aggressive plant life like bananas and the idea of them potentially being engineered by some kind of advanced science. that's going to be fascinating because all the plants in the Amazon are the ones that remain are hyper aggressive. And I've heard him say before he thinks that there's potential for some kind of manipulation going on, or at least breeding.
Isn't that more talking about the soil though? Because they do think that was human intervention. Black soil.
Both. But they also think that these things could be bred a little bit like we breed pugs for a certain purpose. You breed the most hyper aggressive plants, so you get mass output to sustain a population, which is advanced in the sense, not saying they're doing not saying they're splicing genomes and sticking them together, but science in the sense that there's some kind
advanced
of
agricultural techniques. It's more of a
process.
What you would do if you loved. Yeah.
If
you had to make lots of food for a lot of people, you'd have to sort of change the way you grow stuff.
Improvement.
Gradual
improvement. Sure. I know we've only got no time left. So last thing I just want to mention is I heard something that's really cool that I thought you'd like. There's only one jockey who has ever won a horse race when he's dead.
Holy shit. A jockey died in the race and won?
And the horse carried him over the line in first place.
That's so weird. How did he die?
I think he had a heart attack. He was 35 years old, 1923. The jockey's called Frank Haynes. He suffered a fatal heart attack whilst riding his horse, Sweet Kiss, during a steeplechase race at Belmont Park in New York. His body remained in the saddle and the horse continued to run on, eventually crossing the finish line in first place.
So is that a real win? I don't think you can win if you're dead. Famously, that's one of the rules. Surely it says somewhere in the rules that you have to be alive when you cross the finish line. No, it's the first horse across the line. You have to have a jockey on. Jesus.
The exact cause of the heart attack remains speculative, but it's believed that the physical strain of the race, combined with Haynes' effort to make weight for the competition.
Oh, of course.
He reportedly had to lose a significant amount of weight quickly.
Oh, of course.
May have contributed to his death.
Yeah.
And then the most awkward thing about it is he had never won a race in his life and died without having won a race.
Yeah, that remained true. But he still won a race. Well, not him. His cadaver. That is the show this week. We'll be back next time. Nate?
The sweet kiss of death.
See you next week.